to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total Protonic Reversal.
Protonic Reversal. Protonic Reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharp nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It means something. It means something. You know, that's my take. What's yours?
Protonic Reversal!
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed it is. Is a science thing, is a science place, is a scientific fact that we're all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic Reversal. Welcome to it. Hey, I lied. I said that the last episode was the last episode for tour. It's actually this one. So there you go. Never know what to expect on Protonic Reversal. Never know what I'm going to do. I'm a wild card. I am going to be talking in mere moments to Mr. Justin Pearson. Very, very excited for this. Very excited to have him back. It's been a while. Before we do that, impending Way of the Neutron U.S. tour leg 4, I think, which at the time of this recording, let's see, Chicago, Minneapolis, Lincoln, Denver, Salt Lake City, Boise, Medford, Portland, and then Rat City Recon in Seattle, Washington. And then we have the next leg in November. Next and final leg, I might add. Kansas City, Jackson, Atlanta, New Orleans, Austin, Denton, Wichita, Santa Fe, Phoenix, and then ending in L.A. With Mr. Mike Watt. So if you're at any of those cities, please come out and see Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends. If you talk to me about the show, I'll probably give you a sticker if I have them. That's a thing that I do. I'm known for it. And if not, just tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell a friend of me, whatever. And I should say, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal, because I'm your host, Conan Neutron, rock and roll lifer that's been touring and recording for 25 years. Most known for the band Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect, but who may not be household names. Now, this is episode 442. Now, if this is your first time listening to the show, archives of it are available for free. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding at ProtonicReversal.com. However, if you want to support the show and get episodes sooner, $1 a month at Patreon.com/ProtonicReversal will gladly achieve that goal. Helps keep the lights on this joint. And if you like the show, even just a single episode, please feel free to subscribe on your platform of choice, share it around the internet, even leave a review. All that helps people discover the show. It beats back the almighty algorithmic overlords, and it's just a darn nice thing to do. Okay, so coming up, mere moments, Mr. Justin Pearson. I counted out. It's been over 4 years since I've had him on, and it seems both like 4 days and 4 decades. His band Def Club has a new record. It's great, called We Demand a Permanent State of Happiness. I talked to guitarist Brian 10 episodes ago, something along those lines. We also know him from the Locust, Planet B, 31G, Jack Cross. So many wonderful things. Let's bring him on right now. Justin, welcome back to the show, man.
What's up?
So great to have you.
The 4 years thing is crazy. There's so many things that you've done just now that I wanted to comment on, but I know you had me muted, but I was like, what the fuck?
I when I have returning guests, I'll usually check, and sometimes just because my own reactions kind of be funny, I'll do it in real time. I was like, what, 4 years? No way that was 4 years ago. That was like 4 days ago, 4 weeks ago. No,
it was crazy because when you asked me to come back, I was like, that sounds like a stupid idea. I was just on the show.
We just talked. Why would I do that? Yeah.
4 years, man. Dude.
A lot can happen. Well, and I think about it. I mean, at the time, and I'm not going to listen back to check, but I don't think we even really talked Def Club at the time. I think we barely touched upon it, and which is notable to me because, of course, I was lucky enough to get to see to play Caterwall this year, which is fucking awesome. You just put out, I would call your sort of definitive mission statement record, the We Demand a Permanent State of Happiness record, which rules. I love it. In fact, it was through your own suggestion that I had Brian on. I was like, oh yeah, I love that dude. Yeah, let's have him on. Thinking nerd out about guitar stuff, and lo, we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're just a busy guy. I don't think that documentary had come out at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember about the book. I think that was like, look, everyone's very busy. We're taking the time to talk right now.
Yeah.
Through all this, you're running 31G, which has managed to become like one of the more enduring smaller record labels. And I don't even know how you characterize it at this moment in time. Is it one of the smaller record labels? Meaning like a record label in the classic sense of when we were coming up sort of term. You know what I mean? Not like just it's one person putting out their own stuff in their basement. Not that there's anything wrong with that. And that is it's a minor miracle to keep anything like that going, let alone keep it going while also doing your own creative exploits. And this ever-changing world of, dude, just shipping records. It's like a new freaking challenge every month of like what's happening. So how has 31G been enduring these trying times?
Well, okay, so a couple things real quick. I think your intro to your podcast is crazy. Whenever I have a podcast as well called Cult and Culture, and every time we record the intro, I'm like, I need to shut the fuck up. I'm going on too long, or like this is dumb, or whatever. But you just like kept it going, and I was like, dude, this is wild. Like I need to learn to podcast better. But so that I wanted to get that out of the way. As far as the record label thing, we don't have basements here, so I couldn't have started a basement. Actually, ironically, I do have a basement in my house now, but it's very, very, very rare to have a basement in Southern California.
So rare.
Yes, mine floods, but it is also a rehearsal space. Yeah, so I never had a basement, but I started it in my bedroom, and I did it like out of necessity for so many reasons. And then, it like kind of became I guess intertwined with my existence, and became this like sort of vessel for me and a lot of my friends. And at times it's kind of bit me in the ass. Like it still kind of does. And then and it's like not rad to run a record label ever. Like it never was like, oh, this is killer. We're making money or something, it's always like, oh fuck, there goes a couple grand on that record or whatever, and then everyone now, like this is before the internet. Now with the internet, everyone's like, where's my fucking order, dick face? You're like, dude, I sent it to you. I'm not sure exactly what, and like just people are so like up my ass, and I'm like, hey, I'm sorry. I it's me, and I'm trying my fucking best. And like, that shit sucks. But hey, it exists. And all my friends' labels, like a lot of them have just folded. They just fucking threw in the towel. And I can't do that unfortunately. But I've thought about it many times. So yeah.
Yeah, and that was another thing to add is that Cult and Culture wasn't a thing last time we talked, or you had just started it. I can't remember exactly. Like it was not a thing that I knew to talk to you about for sure. And as far as having my spiel down, as Watt would say, like that's just it's repetition, man. Yeah. and I didn't used to do it because I used to think it was lame. I was like, that's lame. Why do people do that? That's lame. And then it's like, oh. Because if you don't do that, people don't know anything about what they're listening to somehow, which you would think they would when they push the button and they click the thing. But like I had a couple, we'll call them humbling experiences where people like just didn't know basic information about the show. I'm like, how? How do you not know that? And then I was like, oh, because I don't mention in the content. I also used to not mention my tour dates because I used to hate that when I would hear like some other show and be like, oh, great, you're going on tour. I don't care. It's not anywhere near me. and I changed my mind on that too. And I was like, okay, so I guess there's a reason why everybody does those things.
But like a podcast host is kind of like sort of like a radio show host, and so it is an art. There's an art to it. You're doing the thing. So like I think what you did was impressive. I was captivated for a couple reasons. One, I was like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? But also like you have 400 something episodes. I'm only on number 6.
I better be good at it, dude. Yeah, for real. Like, like it's like been 11 years.
Fuck it up, man. You better have it down.
Blundered into being okay at it. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that's that's something in of itself too, because when I started this, like we have all these tools now that like make this conceptually a lot easier to connect and do. And it was like literally like, hey, let's go to Fry's Electronics and buy a bunch of like stuff. You got to plug things into other things and do it that way. And it's, and you know, in a way that was kind of cool because it was sort of like, oh, it's like alchemy or something, right? You had to like kind of figure it out. Now it's like, oh, it's easier. So therefore it lowers the barrier of entry, which means that there's just a lot more, but that means there's also people that are doing cooler stuff that maybe they wouldn't be able to if they didn't have these tools as well. That's how I choose to look at it.
I see exactly what you're saying. With that being said, I've taken it upon myself to shoot myself in the foot and do it only in person, and that's good for me because then it limits my output. Like even last night, GBH played here, and I was like talking to Colin from GBH, and I was like, "Let's do this podcast," and he's like, "Yeah, I'm not leaving the venue," and I'm like, "Cool. Well, I guess we're not doing the podcast, you know, which is fine, not a big deal." Did I want to talk to that guy? Yeah, I totally did, but yeah, so I have to like wrangle. The person has to be fucked up enough to like, if they're coming through tour, to like after sound check, cruise to our studio, record, and talk to me for an hour, and then go home or go back to the studio. You know,
I did a remote when Brainiac first started doing the reunion shows. I did a remote with them in the theater they were playing in LA, and it was so freaking stressful. It was so stressful, like setting up all the stuff, and of course, no matter how much you practice, it's not ever set up the way you want it to be. It's like, oh wait, hold on, I'm getting a weird noise, you know, like, and it's like, oh god. I mean, it's why I stopped doing it. I actually used to be. I'll tell you, Jess. I don't know what we're talking about podcasting, but here we are. In this basement, I am broadcasting from a basement, much more common in Milwaukee, where I live, than on the West Coast. There's a couch right over there, and I used to have people in studio. Like I had Keith Rammer from DeCoitzen in, you know, I had like Tim from Silkworm, like people. I would bring people in, not like super often because it's literally like, you know, inviting someone into your home. Yeah. So it's not just gonna be like just any swinging dick. But COVID just kind of killed that dead, right? As you might imagine, right? Well, choice of
we
words.
just had anti-vaxxers on ours. I'm joking. Well, it is kind of funny because we did this one with like the San Diego Black Panther Party, and it was like right when the sort of lockdown happened, you know, and I was trying to navigate their stance on things. Not that I mean, I'm not judging anybody, but I was just like, hey, you want to do this podcast? There was a lot. I was like, San Diego Black Panther Party, do you want to be on this podcast? We have like Satanists and shit on here. And they're like, and I was like, trust me, it'll be rad. But then I was like, fuck, there's this pandemic. You still want to do it? And they're like, sure. And so, you learn people's, whatever. Anyhow, yes.
No, and the Call and Culture podcast is cool. I do subscribe to it, and I eventually get to listening to episodes. I am a frequent podcast listener, but as time has gone on, I found it harder to listen to shows, quote unquote, like this one, if that makes any sense. Which isn't to say that I don't do it. It's just that I have to be in like the right mood, basically. But you've had some really good episodes. I really loved. I mean, it was amazing hearing John Reese. But the one that kind of blew me away was the guys from Help. I knew nothing about those dudes other than that I liked their band and I would like ask them to play with us when we played Portland. That's all I knew from them. And I was like, holy crap, these guys are freaking fascinating. This is amazing.
It's pretty wild. There's only one episode that we recorded that we didn't publish. We're just like, this is a fucking bust, you know, like this is a dud. Yeah. But for the most part, like I've never sat there and been like, oh fuck, this sucks, you know, like usually I'm just like, holy crap, this is wild, like whatever we're tackling, you know. And I've had people on the podcast that like I completely did not know before, which is very rare. Usually it's like my friends or I know them to some extent. Yeah. There's a few people where I'm like, let's fucking see where this goes, you know, and it's been a success so far, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I just said I don't listen to every episode, but I don't listen to every episode of any show. You know what
totally.
I mean? So don't,
but also like my, you know, interests are pretty varied, and I don't expect them to align with any one other person to be like, oh, I totally like this, and then that other shit that's like way over there, like completely down to listen to all of them, you know.
And that's, for me, that's the really cool thing about the form, and like how it is to me in what I think of as punk rock, in the fact that it can be whatever you want it to be, and that's what's beautiful about it. I recently listened to your Sam McFeeters episode because I just love that dude. I think that guy's fascinating. I've seen a couple of shows. I've never talked to him that I'm aware of. I've never had any meaningful interaction with him. I have his book. I'm meaning to read it, but I loved every part of that episode. Half of which was just, you know, like going through like that guy's crazy history and relating personal accounts, and was fascinating. I loved it.
The you know, off air parts are like, fuck, dude, you're gonna tell me this shit when they're not recording.
When you're
like,
not, yeah, right, yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a pants load. Yeah,
oh
exactly.
man.
I've had
Yeah,
people
sounds
pull
great.
that stuff. I'm like, dude, should I turn the mics back on? What are we
Yeah.
doing here?
No,
Like,
he'll be like, I'll tell you this thing after the thing is over. And I'm like, oh man, all right, whatever. But yeah, there was a couple of those moments. I mean, Sam and I go back pretty far and
that helps.
yes. It's crazy for me. Like, we can get over the podcast stuff, but like I on tour, people will say like, I like your podcast or whatever. And I appreciate that. Two things. One, for a while, people kept saying like your yoga instructor episode blew my mind, and this is so wild to hear that. And I was like, cool, this is fucking weird. I'm at a hardcore show, and that's the episode that grabbed your attention.
That's the one.
Like, but like the two instructors are pretty unique, I would say, and it does tie into like music and like and art and stuff. But so that, and then also it's so rad. I was like at this I was at this Pixies concert like a month ago or whatever, and I was just standing there, and this dude walks up, he's like, dude, you're the guy from Cult and Culture. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he was like, I love your podcast. And I was like, that's all he knew. He didn't like really know that I was like in another band or anything.
Right. That happens too. That was for me. It was when we got back to touring. I guess we can't really say post-COVID, right? But like whenever like we just started touring again, that's when I started to get people coming up and like, here's how I'll say to you. People who listen to it are probably sick of hearing me say this, but they would like come up and be like, "Hey man, so I really like the podcast." And I'm like, cool, me too. You don't need to whisper. Do you want a sticker? Like, what are we doing here? And it was so cool because for I don't know, 6 years, right? It was just like felt like messages in a bottle that you're throwing out there, and every like once every 3 months or something, I would get like a really nice email or something. Yeah. But it's a medium that, not that you do it for the accolades, but there isn't as much of a back and forth to it, right? And so it's almost felt like to me, in a certain degree, it reminded me of like writing zines. Where
it's like I don't know, a technologically advanced version of a zine. Really, it is.
Yeah. And so, but it is funny when people don't have the context, right? They're like, oh yeah, I hear you plays in bands too, and it's like, oh,
but you
okay,
kind of
sure.
are that. But you kind of are that person where you like aren't definable. Like when you go like, well, maybe I was gonna try. I don't want to say anybody's name because I'll bump someone out. Like, oh, you're the guitar player in the band. You're of that band. Guitar player. Got it. But you kind of like are a little more obscure and do different things, and so therefore, like, I think you have that ability. It's not like you're like the one guy that's in the band. You're kind of like the dude that does all this shit. So.
And it's funny, right? Like, that's Conan. He does stuff. Okay, great, thanks. But then what you're fighting is that somebody thinking that you're a dilettante, which is like, oh man, come on, because I don't believe in doing anything half-assed. I put my full ass into everything. But that said, I mean, it all does matter, and there are times that I've been kind of low key jealous of oh, you get to just be a musician. Wow, that's so cool. That must be so freeing. Because I'm doing all this other stuff. But then I think about it, and it's like, but that's also my ways of giving back to what punk rock or whatever has given to me, are to do these other things and to be part of the community and to build that up. And
the non-musical elements of being in a band or a musician, I think, suck. But I wouldn't consider this as a sucky thing, because this is kind of like a conversation between, right. There's intellect and there's the obvious dialogue, and we're getting somewhere with this, and people can join in and listen or whatever. But like, my thing that sucks is like, oh, let me spend fucking hours on Instagram posting garbage shit and like fixing the caption and like fucking doing all that or whatever. So
even saying those words makes me want to die, let alone like knowing I have to do it for the next like week and a half.
Social media is the most life-sucking crap. Oh yeah, on tour you're fucked, man. And like, also nobody talks in the van anymore on tour. You're just like, everyone's on their fucking phone.
Fucking thank you, because I like, as someone who predominantly like does all the driving, I'm like, wow, it sure is different touring now than before. And I want to have like just like a cartoon. It's a 2-panel cartoon, which is like everyone's like, playing the. Did you ever do like the the anal car game where you replace the make of a car with the word anal. So it's like, anal probe, anal intruder, like real.
No, that's great. I need to try that. So.
I only bring this up because we used to do that, and then I found there's like 3 other bands that I didn't know that also did that. I'm like, did we all just come up with the same inane juvenile idea at the same time?
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing you got to do to like pass time in the van, right? And now it's just like everyone's just scrolling on their phones. That's like just dead quiet. I'm like, I guess we'll listen to a record. Jesus, we got like 7 more hours of planes to go,
There's always like the Longmount Potion Castle stuff.
Sure. Well, yeah. Well, exactly. And then you also got to kind of like, oh, I don't want to listen to this. Well, you're not driving, are you?
Yeah.
So
no, but if you put on Longmount Potion Castle, that like kind of breaks people's
because it's weird and kind
so
of like it like people are like, what is this? This is hilarious.
Or even if you know what it is, it's just like it still kind of grabs your attention a little bit. I think. Yeah. I mean, I guess with like putting on it's like you just put on music, you can tune that out, which doesn't say a whole lot for our career. But you know what I'm saying?
That's another depressing sentence. But yeah, you're right. You're totally right. Although I did put on it was he'll never listen to this show. It was the Aphex Twin Selected Ambient Works Volume 2. I decided that would be a cool thing to listen to for whatever reason, and it was one of those things where I was like streaming on Apple Music or something, and it's not like the record I have at home, which is just the record, but it's like there's like here's all the demos and all the other stuff, which can be cool, but in this case it's like, oh no, there's like 60 tracks of this. And like, so I just kind of zoned out because I listened to that record. I was like, that's a cool like ambient record, right? Yeah. And like someone, I'm not going to name them, was like, can we listen to literally anything else? And I was like, oh yeah, we've been like rocking like this like ambient vibe for like an hour and 20 minutes, and that's on me. I just sort of spaced out. My bad. But it is notable. Yeah. So podcast as a medium, as a form of communication, lovely, wonderful. And I think there is something to be said. There's certain people that are like, I felt you were very suited for it. Like when I first, like even from your early episodes, like, and I think you're coming at it from the same place I am, which is that, when you've been on the other side of the mic, so to speak, you kind of know what does and doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And the stuff that basically works the best is when it's a one-on-one conversation. I mean, my key in my show, I never have anyone on that I'm not interested in. And that may sound obvious, but some shows you just got to wonder. You're like, what do you mean? Why do you have this person on if you don't like what they like? What are you doing?
But also, like, I've already derailed your own podcast. But I think that's
the show, dude. That's fine.
Well, but I think that's like, I know how to derail people's shitty podcast, or like like if someone has an interview that's like, and I'm like, dude, you're gonna ask me that question? All right, let me try to make it better,
Let me turn that around. Like, I'll answer the question I wish you would have asked. I mean, this is like, it just comes from like taking over like bad college radio shows and just be like, all right, this sucks. So I'm going to like kind of just do my thing here. Yeah. We're going to kind of go.
But it's kind of cool to, I mean, you and I are friends, so I feel like we have this is like a two-way dialogue, but like usually if I, like if I'm on someone's podcast or they're interviewing me and it's like, like I can tell they're kind of like reading my Wikipedia or something. And I'm like, come on, dude, let's just like, who gives a fuck about all that stuff? Let's talk about, all right, let's.
So in 1998, oh great, here we go. Okay. Yeah. Although I do that kind of thing. I think that kind of thing can be interesting, but if that's the only tool in the tool belt, you better go back and get some more tools, boy.
Yeah.
It's it's also like, all right, so we're going to do just the sequential thing. Okay. Yeah. And for some people you almost have to, because they're not, their way of maybe they're someone that's not as extemporaneous. They like have to like think more ahead of time about what they're going to say to feel comfortable, so on and so on. It's not one size fits all.
There was one time where someone hit me up, actually 3 different people hit me up and like, you got to check out this band Come Girl 8. And I was like, I don't know, like why or whatever. And I was like, and then so I checked them out and I was like, fuck, this is crazy. And they're like, they're coming to San Diego. They're playing like tomorrow night. You should go to their show. They'll put you on the list. And I was like, oh, actually, like they should come on my podcast, and they agreed to it. And so it was crazy meeting them, being like,
so you didn't even know them
less than 24 hours ago, and it was like killer. It was just like fucking popped off, and I was like, oh, this is great. But I think maybe like I have a good ability to like detect if someone's like cool or not, you know? Or I mean,
Yeah,
not like I'm not trying to sound like an asshole. Like I don't want some dipshit on to talk to for an hour, but like I want someone that's like got some depth and like it was fucking cool. But that was the only time someone's like solicited a person, and I was like, you know, I have no idea what this is, and I'm so grateful that happened because I think that they're like one of the like raddest modern bands. So anyhow,
what a cool experience too, and that's something where, yeah, because you know when someone's kind of guarded or when someone's like not, you know, not giving you the authentic experience or whatever, and that honestly that makes me crazy. Like I don't like it at all, and it's happened so infrequently on this show. And without, I'm just giving away the store on telling my secrets here. But like, I've tried to kind of shock the person because even if you like get a negative reaction, it's like takes them out of like what they're doing, right? And it's happened. It's like 3-4 times out of 11 years, maybe. And every one of those times, like they kind of started like, okay, now I'll be a little more real with you, which is funny because I was fully expecting for that not to be the case.
Yeah,
you know, like Mark Maron and Gallagher or something, where he flips out and storms out the studio.
like so what's your favorite Screwdriver album?
Well, a lot of people like the later work, but I'm more into the messaging of the early stuff. Oh my god!
Either way, you're fucking dumb if you pick like because you know there's that like the first record, the street punk record. It's not racist. It's good. You're like that's actually like the worst one,
dude.
Like
yeah,
musically, it's trash. Anyhow,
can I tell you? Okay, so since you said that, I have a San Diego story.
They're gonna tell me your favorite Screwdriver record, but yeah,
what a lead up, right? One of my old bands was we were playing in San Diego, and I'm not gonna say what the venue was. A long time ago, and
you gotta say it.
and they were playing Shocking Blue. You know that band Shocking Blue, right? The like drums and bass, and I want to say keyboard. They did the original version of Love Buzz that Nirvana covered. They're like a Dutch rock band.
Okay.
They're really cool. They you should check out Shocking Blue. They're really good. But they were playing a surprising amount of Shocking Blue. I'm like, I mean, the surprise was hearing any of it, frankly, because I'm like, that's just kind of like an oblique band, okay. And so I'm sitting there, and we had brought our author friend with us, who was like just being our roadie / extra dude / like fun hang, and who drank a lot, and he was like sitting at the bar, and he's like, he says, and the bartender gets a drink. And I'm like, wow, so much Shocking Blue played. That's so weird. And I walk past him. He's like, hey, Conan. I'm like, what? He's like, this guy just walked over, handed me my drink, and said, White Power Happy Hour. And I was like, what? It's like, yeah. And like, look at these. And like, I looked up, and like 3 of his buddies came in, which were very clearly skinheads. And I'm like, oh my God.
How long ago was this?
What do we do? This is like 13 years ago or something along those lines.
Was it the Zombie Lounge?
I don't even remember.
If I guess it, will you tell me?
But I did say something to the booker.
Yeah. What venue? You don't remember that? You're not gonna tell me, huh?
I don't remember, dude. It was so long ago. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, but then I was like, what do I do with this information? Like, what do I fucking do? Like, do we play this show? Do we like, and whatever. It's like one of those things where it's just like I wouldn't believe it if I would have saw it myself, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. It was in 2013, and it was.
What are you looking at?
An old show list. 11. I don't know what that is. What 11 San Diego? Do you know what that is?
Oh yeah. So 11 was it was a bunch of places, but yeah, the Zombie Lounge is what it was originally called. I worked there.
Okay.
And I got my ass beat by skinheads.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. And by the way,
got out and became another thing. So I mean, it had like there's shitheads that frequent that place. So
okay, so I didn't know it because I didn't book either of these shows. So we actually played 2 shows in San Diego, and the other one was fine, but that was the one. And by the way, I tried to click on that venue's website, and so many pop-ups just opened up. I was like, oh my God. So.
But this is crazy because I think that maybe it might have been a joke because. I'm gonna rat someone out right now. So Sal Gallegos,
really? Okay.
Sal Gallegos from Some Girls and Secret Fun Club and stuff.
Yeah,
There. He used to work there as a bartender, straight edge, never drank in his life. and is obsessed with like white power shit. Like he's Mexican, so whatever, but he's like he's also like just a prankster, like a shitty one, but yeah, so he might have said like white power happy hour to someone to fuck with somebody.
Can I tell you, I just remembered another detail. One of those like skinhead dudes that were visiting had like a gas can that he put up on the bar, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Like what is this all? So if it was all put on, respect, honestly.
Yeah,
I was
I don't know if it was or not, but before, back when it was the Zombie Lounge, my friend Alicia worked there, and she was like doing some bullshit on the bar, dancing or whatever, and they set it on fire, and this dude caught his flannel shirt on fire, and all of his skin melted off.
Whoa!
Yeah, it was crazy though. I used to DJ there before. I was a door guy, and I used to DJ there, and people would be like, "What the fuck is this, faggot?" You know, like play some punk, and I'm like, "Dude, you guys are so lame." Punk like stops at the fucking, you know, they're just like, play the first Screwdriver record. You're like, absolutely not. But I'd play like, do you know stubble on the face of a vicious brute, stubble on the chin of a vicious brute? It's a men's recovery project song. But
yeah, of course, yeah.
Sample Ian Stewart's like 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, and so you play that, and like there'll be like 4 people in the bar be like, what? They're like, no, the fucking one, you know, they know the voice, and then it's like another song, and you're like, oh
yeah.
Fuck you guys.
That's a great song to play to kind of
to figure out who the fucking shitbags are. Yeah,
I love Men's Recovery Project, man. That band was like, when I first heard them, I was like, what is this? Because I'm a huge Residence fan. Like I knew that band first. I was like, this is like Residence plus hardcore. This is wild. And I meant it as a compliment, of course.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Anyway, okay, I really lost a thread on this one. Sorry. This is what happens when I do them later too, dude. There was I had Mario, I had Rubalcaba on
Love that guy.
Years ago, and like I for some reason my personal mission, like we're gonna talk about at least one thing of every band you've ever been in. Okay. First of all, stupid. Secondly, did it. Thirdly, then I was exhausted, and we just literally BS'd about records for a half hour. Because he's, you know, it's Mario. He's freaking badass. You can talk about records for forever. Okay, let's start with. So we mentioned 31G. You know, I consider it. I feel like you get a little bit of respect just for surviving as a record label. In general, but I feel like there's something where, you know, if you're like, oh, so and so came out in 31G, it's like, oh wow, that's cool. I'll check that out. That's got to be something kind of interesting. They don't put out just any old thing, you know, and that's I mean, that comes from just putting out stuff you like, I guess, and then like, you know, people either like your taste or they don't. But it's notable to me because they're kind of came to be like, you know, hey, playing in South Dakota, and like, oh yeah, what do they sound like? Oh, kind of like a 31G kind of band, you know?
Yeah.
Like it kind of became a shorthand, and I think there's no higher compliment than like, oh, that's like, you know, the bar band version of Aerosmith. It's like, oh, that's the bar band version of.
Yeah, but that could work against you. Like the 31G kind of band, you're like, oh, it's gonna fucking be garbage, you know? Like
no. I mean, like, I meant that like that's like the kind of the milieu that they're kind of operating in, which is like,
but when if you step outside of our peripheral, like ours, like the weirdos, you know, then you're just like, oh, well, that's fucking bullshit. I'm not gonna watch that band, you know. Like, trust me. I mean, like my whole fucking career has been like, fuck that guy.
Well, for me, it's always been kind of like, oh, especially if it's someplace it's like more remote, like, wow, that's cool that they're doing that here, that like they're coming up with something kind of like out of it. I'm meaning it more as a compliment, not the most absolutely cynical deployment of that you could possibly have. But I mean, like, don't get me wrong. There's definitely like been times like, sounds like a Lookout Records band, you know? Okay, I know what that is, you know?
Yeah.
Sounds like Fat Records. I would mean that as a insult, probably. You know, it's like, okay. These are all very dated references, but
I'm used to like, you know, the Blood Brothers being like, "We're taking our record from you, fuck you guys," you know, like we're giving it to Epitaph, but then like the time when like Mets hit me up and was like, "We want to do a record on 31G," and I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you guys are on Sub Pop, and you're like." Completely successful. Why do you want to fucking do something? And you know, we did 2 singles with them, but like, it was flattering that like
it's still cool. Yeah.
To have a band be like, we want to just have a record on. It's kind of like the same thing with like how I grew up, like wanting to be on Gravity. You know, it's like there's a, you know, like is 31G, you know, more structured and like functionally better, like better infrastructure. Yes. But like, I would like to do a record on Gravity, you know, and that actually ended up happening. But the thing is, like, I wonder how, you know, people perceive things, because in my brain, I know all the bullshit of my own label. And so so when someone's like, so I understand it, I get it. And I appreciate it. And I know it's not like, and I think the bands on the label are kind of like, we get it. We're not going to like get paid, but we can be part of this community. And that has a lot of value to it, because I think 31G function as like ethical capitalism, but like poorly as capitalist, because we don't make much money. But I think there's like, in America or you know, in Western civilization, we fucked ourselves by thinking like success is financial, and like if success can be all kinds of things. And I think that like maybe a lot of the artists on 31G are willing to accept that and run with that. And I think that's cool, because then it shows you have to be fucked up and crazy enough to want to do that.
Right. So two things on that. First of all, in Caterwall, we coined the term inadvertent nonprofit, which I thought was pretty hilarious. But also, I think you're right with the amount, with the community of it, right? Like there's something to be said for the self-selecting of, hey, these are my kind of freaks. These are the freaks that are of similar mind to like what we're doing. You know, this is like, it's a respect thing. It's something it can be like a friendly competition of like, wow, did you hear that I mean, the classic example for guys like us to be like, oh yeah, remember that, you know, it's like when the Husker Du Minutemen, and they had that, you know, they ended up making a double record because they heard Husker Du's double record. And it's like, you know, both those records could have been a single record, by the way. And I say that, I love both those records. They're great. But,
Yeah.
and I love everybody from those bands. Don't at me. They're great. But it's that idea of kind of pushing each other a little bit and pushing each other a little bit. And again, self-selecting your type of freak. Mm-hmm. Right. And I say that as someone who still does believe that punk rock, noise rock, post-hardcore, whatever the hell you call it, it is, when done best, is, you know, done by people that are just have their own thing going on. And that's always how it's been, and always, I think, how it will be. And every once in a while, we'll see these weird sort of flashpoint events, like something like what happened with Blood Brothers, where it's like, wow, they're popular now? Crazy. The Blood Brothers, the ones that opened for us, they're nuts. Did they change their sound? Did they ditch one of the singers? Like what? But then it's also like, cool. I mean, if like mall kids are going to be into this, fuck yeah, that's awesome. Like, you're going to be mad about that? Like, no. Oh, well, I don't like them. I don't give a shit, and they don't give a shit either. And they shouldn't. They're doing what they do, and they're doing it very well. It's clearly connecting with people. I guess the latest iteration of that would be my Dudes in Chat pile, right? I mean, it's been super cool seeing those guys just, you know, play to bigger and bigger audiences and really kind of touch people. And it's like, all those guys have played in bands that just, you know, did all the things that you all do and with the same level of quote unquote success. And they found one that struck gold, and everybody should be happy about that. There's nothing to be mad about with that, as long as you're in it for the reasons of, you know, pushing the creative boundaries and kind of like making the world a less crappy place than it was when you came in. Anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. You've been a great audience. No, but I feel like what I'm going at with that in regards to 31G is, I feel like even when you put out stuff, it's been a little more like inscrutable to me at first. It's always like, oh, I get what he sees in this. Like, this is neat. This is cool. Like, I find something in it.
I think that is a blessing and a curse at the same time for me. But right. I think like there's so many the like sort of weird. I don't know if you said this, but I got this from what you were saying, like competitiveness, I guess, or like
friendly competitives. Yeah. You push each other.
The first time I ever really noticed it was when we did the Oops tour, which was like headlining. It was like Locust, Airborne Radar, Lightning Bolt, or Locust, Lightning Bolt, Airborne Radar. They switched, and then
Pink and Brown did the Bay Area ones, and which is the ones that I saw.
The two. It was 5 bands. The two like the two first bands are like regional openers, but and it was all killer. Every night was killer. Yeah, because you're like, oh, we got Erased Rado, we got Blood Brothers, we got Get Hustle, we got Orthreum, fucking whatever. And like whoever, or Quintron, whoever was on the bill, you're like, this is 5 bands of fucked up shit, and this is great. And we're one thing. And that included the people there, included like the audience. But I noticed this really fucked up thing because, and I don't, luckily enough, I don't play in a 2-piece band. So I once we started getting around to like joining forces with Hella, there was this like issue with 2-piece bands, and not on Hella's part. I don't want to say on whose part, but I'm like, you guys are gonna fucking fight about this shit, like because or like be upset. There's like another 2-piece band ripping super hard, and like, are they the same, or one better, one the other? Who gives a fuck? But like to be a dick about it kind of was like a bummer to hear that. And then it was like this other element happened where it was so funny because I remember because they were switching. So like Airborne Radar had played first of the 3 and they stopped, and Lightning Bolt would usually play on the floor. So they stopped, and I was out back of this venue, and the door opens and Eric Paul comes out and the door closes and the song starts again. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? What are you doing? He's like, oh, it's not us. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, it's Lightning Bolt. And I was like, what the fuck? And they just like were trying to fuck with them and play. So then it became this like competition to like play. It was crazy because no one fucked with the Locust shit. And I was like, go ahead, like try it out, because we were like secretly rehearsing Lightning Bolt and Airborne Radar were.
So you could like give it back to them if they did.
We're like, oh, we're gonna fuck with us. We're gonna fuck with you. But like, and I thought it was kind of funny in a sense. But then I also thought like, that would be a bummer right now, I think, for me. If I could see Eric being kind of bombed in real time. And I was like, I don't know, like, do we want to do that? And so, and of course, like, no one would fuck with like Get Hustle and shit like that. You know? But I was like, this is weird that like, there's like, and I don't know if it was competitiveness or it was just like fucking with people. But then, so like that kind of like resonated and stuck with me for a while, because there was a person that I played in a band with who I don't really like as a human being, but their whole goal with their musicianship was to be like competitive. And I was like, man, that's so bizarre that you would think like that. And someone who is not competitive and who I love more than anyone, Joseph Karam from the Locust, he actually like argued with this person about it and was like, I don't think there should be competitiveness in a setting where we're all friends. I get it when you're like, oh yeah, we're on a bill with these fuckheads, like, but when you're on a bill with other like-minded people from your community, you should elevate each other. And it's not that it's competitiveness, because I've seen bands play who I love, and I'm like, oh fuck, did you see what they did? Not that we have to be better, but I'm like, we gotta bring it, like, and I think that's cool. But when you're like, I want to fucking be the best and I'm going to beat them, and it's like, that kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's like sports stuff, and that's where you lose me a big time.
Yeah.
But so a few things there. First of which is that, when I'm talking about it, it's more like, I guess taking inspiration in that same way of like, oh man, that's so rad. Did you hear, like, did you hear that new Lung record? Oh man, it's so good. It's not like I'm going to go try to like make a record that sounds like that, or like need to like do what they do. But it's something where it keeps you inspired to be like, oh, that's so cool. I can't wait to hear those songs live. That's going to be so neat. More in that nature than like the sport goofy sort of nature of it all. Secondly, I played a bunch of shows with Hella early on, including at a cafe in Elk Grove, which was hilarious, and they were always an astounding live act. And I can't remember, they must have played, because I think one of the shows, did the Oops Tour do Sacramento too? Because I saw 2 of them for sure. I saw Gilman and I saw SF. And I want to say there was like another one I saw.
There was Sacramento, and I think it was with Hella and Flying Lutenbachers, maybe.
That sounds right. So that was an amazing experience, and it's something I don't think I've really seen so much then, which is sort of, you have this thing that it's like the best bill, but it's like touring. You know what I mean? And like, I know people that are really into metal are like, oh yeah, when, Metallica and Megadeth and Anthrax all tour together, I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And I'm like, all right, yeah, it's not really my deal, but okay. But that was such a interesting thing, because if I remember right, the goal was to do it like all ages as much as possible too, which was super cool. And it was just really interesting to be like, none of these bands sound like each other, but there's definitely a clear kind of cross-purposing and like-mindedness. and it's sort of one of those things that for the right person to see it, it can like really open up the potential of like what things can be. And I was like, wow, this is like groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Because as much as like Lollapalooza and whatever, it's like, well, that stuff's like, I don't like big shows. Like there was like that one year was like Sonic Youth and Nick Cave and whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's cool. But like,
Yeah.
it was like always like, yeah, and they have like some jokers I hate.
I saw
too.
I saw the Public Enemy Anthrax Primus tour, and that was like,
Oh yeah.
that shit's sick, you know.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and what else? There was like, I don't like Helmet, but there was a Ministry Sepultura Helmet tour, and
Okay.
like, that was the pairing of things.
Too much short pants in the energy.
Well,
I
mean,
like Helmet a lot, but I fully get it when people don't.
Yeah.
And
But
their
Sepultura
audience
and
were
Ministry,
like
yeah, it was
annoying.
good, yeah.
Like they're no like all the worst jock bros somehow got in Helmet. I don't know how that happened, but anyway.
To each their own, but I like how that was like grouped together as like a thing, and I think that's cool. I think that says something. And again, like that was making a sort of community, I suppose, with to some extent. The Oops tour was like, there was some parts where I was like, there was one time it was like Locust, Lightning Bolt, Airborne Radar, Eraserata, and one other band, and everyone was like uniform bands. Like we all had
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, dude, we all feel. I felt like it was like some fucked up episode of Star Trek where everyone was like jacked up.
You got the Romulans over here and the Klingons over there.
Dude,
Yeah.
The next like band was just fucked looking and like sounded crazy, and like no one sounded the same, and it was like everyone was doing their own like weirdo shit, but it made complete sense. And that was like really like a defining moment too, because it was like, because there was no element of competition there. It was more like a total freak show of just like the most wildest shit that will never be successful. And then what do you know? Some of it became pretty successful.
Yeah. Right. It's like, oh well, never say never. Right. Is basically what I learned from that. But it's so funny because like I felt like and you guys were great on that Locust, but it's also one of those things where I saw shows that was like this is just a good Locust show, and I saw shows where like people were trying to fuck with you or whatever, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like why are you doing this? Like and it would be kind of funny because it's like, okay, here's like 25-second song and then like 2 minutes of back and forth with some idiot in the audience, which is like, oh, come on.
That taught me a lot of nuance and skill, because like you had to be pretty quick, but usually it was like always like very, very one-dimensional comments. But it also, the Locust got so fed up at one point where we would just play for 40 minutes with no breaks. And that's something that like I've even taken into like modern times. I mean, Def Club has 2 breaks in a set where I'll talk, and even the band just like fucking shut up and like
it's enough.
Again, But
that's kind of my preferred vibe too. Like, I mean, I think other than like Ramones, which would be like, "Hey, we're the Ramones," and like that's like all they'd say, and then it was just like, okay, and then 40 minutes later, I guess we're done. Hot Snakes, they were like real good at that
Rockin'
too.
the Crypt. Rockin' the Crypt, I think hands down is like probably the best like functionally live band, like because they would come out and hit it. There would be a break, and his dialogue would happen. I mean, I never asked, but like I'm like, does John like rehearse the banter, and then
because it's so good, right? It's so perfect.
And then and for me and my fucking bullshit ADD brain, I'm like watching and I'm like, okay, break, and then the comments, and then the band starts right away, and I'm like, where was the cue?
Yeah, like, how do they know when to do it? Yeah,
but you look at it and you're like, okay, that's weird. John just criticized the guy in the crowd who's got like, a lobster on his shirt, and then
it's not prepared material,
you're like, there's no way that would have like ever happened, and so I would hands down say like, if someone's like, who's the best performer, I would say like, I mean, it's John Reese. Like, there's nobody better than that, and I think that fuck yeah. So I mean, and out of the the John Reese sphere, I would Rocket's not my favorite. I like him a lot, but like not my favorite. But the way that their set is, because I've seen them play like bullshit here in San Diego. They played it like down by the bay at this like clam festival, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Like seafood, like clam.
I mean, peace and love to the clam lovers, but that sounds horrible. Yeah,
and it was like, he was just on one, and like it was brilliant. I was like, dude, so I think like you kind of have to know where to grab your because he's just like enough of a dick to like someone in the audience, and then like I don't know, like keeps it positive and fun somehow.
Yeah,
like,
sassy dick, not like threatening dick. So two things. One of which I got into Jehu like 6 months after they broke up. I don't know why. Just did. I got into them, and they were like, I'm just like, this is my new favorite band. Oh my God, they're so amazing. And I was unnecessarily mad at Rocket from the Crypt for basically existing when Jehu didn't for like years. It's the dumbest thing. This is some real young man stuff. I was like just irrational. Would not like give them the time. I even saw them, and I was like, no, whatever. Like I just wouldn't give them a chance. And then my friend's like, let me make you a tape. I think knowing your taste, I think you'll really dig them. And he made me a comp tape, and I'm like, fuck, they're great. God damn it. God damn it. Because I spent so many years just being closed-minded about it because I was so into Jehu. Like all the guitar stuff that John would do, I would try to rip off, do a terrible job and make up my own cool guitar stuff in the process. Like seriously, like I just love that like I couldn't accept that he was doing another band. And like it's serious, like lamer stuff. But I got over it. I've got to see him a few times, and it was fucking just like, I mean, this is like everything you want out of a rock and roll show. Secondly, I talked to John. It was the tour that Night Marchers and Obits did a tour together, like before Hot Snakes got put together. And I guess in San Diego, they like did a few Hot Snakes songs at the very end, right? Which everybody yelled for at every show. It's like, dude, you think they don't hear that all the time? Like shut the fuck up. Like, let's just, because I really like Night Marchers. I really like Obits. I think those are good bands. Yeah. And I got John to agree to be on this show. And and so how long ago was that, right? When was the last thing Night Marchers did? Like, that's how long ago I agreed to be on this show. And like, I email him like every couple of years, and nothing happens with it. But I would love to talk to John. I think he's John Reese is who I want to be when I grow up. You know what I mean?
I love him to death.
He's a badass.
When I hit him up, I was like,
I don't think he likes doing this kind of thing though. He does great on your show, but like,
but the thing is, like, him and I have a lot of history, and I think it was really strange timing because he came on the podcast, and I remember right before I was like, do you want to not do it? Because like Rick had just passed away.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? I like that. I want to do it. And I was like, okay. And he told me like crazy shit. Like, what was it like? I might be wrong, but like New York Times or something like that, like wanted to interview him. And he was like, no, I'm going to just go on this podcast.
Yeah. Cause you were like the only thing I think that he did. If I remember. And it's crazy because he just doesn't, it's not like his deal, dude. Like I had to pester Rick about it for years. The only thing I pestered him about for more, a longer period of time was to do artwork for me. Which he did, but that took years longer than me getting to do the podcast. And then what I did is like, you should talk to John. I'm like, I'm fucking trying to like help a brother out. It's like, I'll talk to him, but he didn't.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
but it's also one of those things where like, I guess he's a guy that just doesn't. I mean, it's not really his vibe. You just like it's all in the music, it's all in the presentation. I mean, that last record, that new Swami John Reese record, great. It's like, this is great. You're going to listen to this and think this is lesser?
So much output for a human, like, I like for me, I'm like, yeah, I'll do it. You're like, there's a couple podcasts of like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. I'm like, what the fuck? There's 4 views on your other episode. Right. There's one of those things. Well, but like I think John maybe is a little bit more specific. And I when he was
and your buds too. Like you have a lot of history. Yeah.
That was the thing, and it made me like psyched because I love him, and so I was like, oh, this is fucking cool.
Well, and that's a good example. Like when Steel Pole Batha came on this show, and Dorothy, when she revealed herself as Dorothy, it was on this show.
Whoa!
And the fact that she trusted me to be like the avenue, I was like, that's huge because I mean, that's like one of my favorite bands of all time. So I was like, please, I mean, let's however you want to do it.
Are they from? Where are they from?
So they're from Montana originally, then they were Denver, then Seattle, then Bay Area. So I know them mostly from Bay Area, which is like Boner Records and all that.
Yeah.
That's
Boner. Yeah, of course.
Miracle Sound of Motion. Why can't I think of the freaking Tulip? All that stuff. Like that's all like when they were Bay Area. Or the earlier stuff, like Lurch was
great record,
which is amazing. I want to say they were Denver when that happened.
Okay.
The really early stuff was when they were in Montana. So they went from like Montana to like these other cities, right? And just real interest. But it's one of those things where how cool was it that somebody that I grew up listening to, right? They kind of formed my musical taste like entrusted me with something like that. And that sounds and like there are other shows that like they got more lists. I mean, mine are spread out all over because I existed before. You could stream on YouTube. What's Spotify? That didn't exist when I started. Like, and it's been around for a long time. There are other shows that are bigger, but the thing is, I've never tried to make a big show. If I tried to do a big show, I would have run this entirely differently.
Yeah. But that's the thing is too. Like, it's even like bands. We don't start out to be Van Halen. We start out to like do like something really fucking cool and like whatever. Whatever happens.
And that's kind of like knowing you're a North Star too, which I feel like you always have with all your various bands. Like, and it's been cool to see where like when I first time I heard Planet B, I was like, oh, this is nuts. Like, how did this come together? Like, I was genuinely curious about it. So how did Planet B come together? I think you told me last time, but let's pretend we didn't talk about that last time.
I mean, accident, like one of those things. Like I'm like, I have a friend who's like a producer that plays NPCs. It's into hip hop. Like, we should totally should make music together. And then, many learning curves and processes and mistakes and checks and balances. And then we have a thing, and like now Luke Henshaw from Planet B is like, we're both in Satanic Planet. We both do the podcast together, and like something came out of that I would never have expected, because it was just like, let's just do one song. Initially we were going to do a Britney Spears cover, and then it just became like this massive thing, so massive is like, as far as like long standing,
right? As in a long-term partnership, sustainable for the people that it's for, that's I mean, everything within context, sure. No, and that's and that's cool because it's one of those things where I think there's a certain amount of people that'd be like, oh yeah, that's the Locust guy, right? Has he done anything recently? It's like, dude, he's done like a million things. But it's like, when I get it, because first of all, Locust started, which is weird to think about this historically now, but at a time when we didn't have this atomized media landscape. So it was always like, even if people didn't know the music, in fact, I feel like oftentimes they didn't know the music. They'd be like, oh, those guys are nuts. And you would just hear about some crazy, I was like, they didn't do that. That's not real. But they would just people just make up crazy shit about you guys. Yeah. Of like insane things, like Gigi Allen style. It's like, okay, have you been one of their shows that they don't do any of those things?
But that's kind of cool, I guess. It like helps with the promotion. I mean, some of it we leaned into a lot of it, and a lot of it is like, bullshit like Jerry Springer and stuff. But you lean into it, and then there's like this sort of folklore. Because I remember doing interviews and like, Gabe and I were lying and saying we got married in Hawaii and shit, and like because that became a thing too, and like because we were trying to like alienate like fuckheads.
You're trying to freak out the squares and
and also like there was a subversiveness of a very strong political subversiveness to everything, but that so we tried to utilize like now what are you gonna do, like I don't think you could do that, like
it's almost like how you can't really do satire the same way now, I mean it's almost a lost art because it's like, how do you even, like when an Onion headline reads like a regular news headline, like what are we doing here? Like,
I do wonder, like the Onion headlines are becoming more and more common on other sites that are not satire. And I'm like, what the fuck world am I in?
Yeah, it's the worst part of devolution. I mean, although those guys are like, I got to overhear a conversation with those guys where they're like, we're in the alternate timeline, we're in the doomed one. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's Jerry. Yeah. All right, Devo. Good hang.
Yeah.
You're probably right. And wow, I'm depressed now. But no, but it's like, I mean, I think about things. And I remember we did talk last time about Extreme Elvis and Virgil's Burn My Eye project, and that great episode where he was, challenging you about like the Coke mirrors and this and that. Yeah. Honestly, I'm just going from memory. I have the VHS somewhere, but I don't have a VCR, so I couldn't even. I guess it's probably on the internet now. But anyway, whatever.
But like when that happened, we were just like, "Fuck this guy."
Yeah, who's this fucking prick?
I mean, Joey peed on him and shit. Like it was bad. And then as soon as it was over and I went upstairs, he was like, "That was a killer interview," and I was like, "What?" Yeah, like we fucking threw you out and like Joey peed on you, dude. And he was like, "No, that was fucking brilliant." And then I was like, "Oh, I see what you did." And then we became friends, and the guy was incredible. He's still, I mean, I don't know what he's up to now, but
Cornell's been living I shouldn't.
I've heard
dox
the
him.
folklore. He shaved his head, said, Extreme Elvis is dead, and like fucking
Yeah.
hates white, people and shit. So like, yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy behind Extreme Elvis is still around. He doesn't live in the U.S. anymore, and it's leading a somewhat private life. I talk to him now and again.
Yeah.
But it's like one of those things where it's like the whole thing being theater of the absurd is sort of it was such a crazy flashpoint in time, especially when you see people at these shows that just like, cool, I like Elvis. I'll go see this show.
Yeah.
And
And then it's like Gigi Allen, Elvis.
It's right. It's like Gigi Allen, Elvis, and then like for an encore, he does like freaking 5 Minor Threat songs, and people are just like shook. People were just like, this guy is naked and like doing push-ups and like singing Suspicious Minds at the same time. Like what is happening right now? I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. This is amazing.
Total genius. Yeah.
Yeah. He's the world needs Extreme Elvis more than ever.
But
I thought if he was going to come out that freaking Baz Luhrmann biopic that came out, I was like, if there ever was a time to do an Extreme Elvis, come back.
But I don't think the world can. I don't think that can happen again. Like I don't know.
I don't think so. I think you're right.
I don't know. Maybe it could. Maybe we just don't know. But I hope it does happen. I really do.
What would be the Extreme Elvis of? I don't know. Because everything's so multi-layered and it's so idiotic too at the same time. Like it's how do you even with like sardonic black humor, how do you satirize that? I don't know. If I knew that, maybe I'd be doing that instead of this. But
yeah, you'd be like a TikToker and you would be like successful in that sense, which I think it exists. I just don't know if we know about it.
Dude, that might be it, right? Maybe it's happening. You don't know Bum Widget 69? No, I don't know who that is. Who's that? And you know what? Maybe that's fine. Maybe it's fine that we don't know about it. It's not for us.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not a big deal. I never thought Swing Kids would be back.
Yeah, I didn't either.
How did that all come together?
John Brady was like, "Hey, my birthday's coming up. I'm turning 50. You want to play this thing?" And I was like, "No, but I'm gonna say yes because I know Jose will say no." And then Jose said yes. And then I was like, "Fuck, all right." And then so we did it, and it was cool. It felt nice, and it was very odd, which I think the whole band's existence was.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, we should probably do a couple more shows because people were like bummed that we played, and they're like, "What the fuck, you played?" And we're like, "Yeah, I mean, whatever." And so we did a couple more shows, and we have 2 more. So we're playing in Florida in a next week, in a week, and then we're playing in Austin the last weekend of this month, and then that's it. So it was cool. I mean, if we play more, I mean, it's not off the table, but I don't think I don't think it's warranted on a scale of like reunion band.
The Pixies or something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we're going to play Fest and we're losing money. That's like if I'm going to lose money, I'm going to have to like do it with Def Club where I'm like,
right.
We're sick because no one cares,
Yeah. You're doing it with your band so people can be like, "Hey, I'm really into that record. Cool. Where were you at when we toured that record? Nowhere? Okay, cool. Right on."
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't think so either. It's interesting to play it now and like have our musical taste sharpened to where they're at, and so it's a trip. There's so many musical things that trip about that stuff because I, for one, like I'm so drawn towards the style of Gabe Serbian's drumming, and I think Jose is completely not like Gabe. And it's weird because I played with Jose for the first chunk of my musical career, and then Gabe for the second. And so going back, I'm like, it's like because Jose is always like, it's jazz, it's fucking jazz, and it's really not dependable in a fucked up, visceral kind of like way that I'm so into like the structure, and this is more like back to the feeling. And there's times where I'm like, holy fuck, that guy just did that thing where he just like punched his cymbal, and like, why? Where did you could have used a stick, and you like, and then I'm like, oh my god, this is great, like maybe not musical, like more so as like performance art. And I think that's cool because I got so wrapped up still am into like the musical performance element where
Yeah.
I think he would like do it the opposite. And not that it's not musical, but it's like, it's just, I don't know. Like, it sounds weird saying it's like, because it's always from the heart, but I think it's like not predictable. And that's a thing that I think is bizarre and interesting for me.
No, absolutely. And it's one of those things where coming at it from your age that you are now and coming at it from all of your musical experiences now and coming back to that music, it's got to be kind of a trip because it's going to be, oh, this is the same but different. Like,
Yeah.
like there are things about this that probably are immediately familiar and things that are like, wow, okay.
Yeah. Well, for me, and I look at it critically as like I am the weakest link in the band, and I say that for a couple reasons. On the recordings, I wasn't a very good singer. I was always off time, and then also like the lyrics were pretty bad. Like I didn't know how to write a chorus and a verse, and I was just like, I'll just say these 3 lines over and over and over, and like it kind of doesn't. It didn't like age well with me. And so it's a trip when I hear people being like, that band saved my life. And I'm like, what the
That's the one.
fuck are you talking about?
Well, yeah. And you're always going to be, since you've grown as a lyricist and, as a songwriter and so on and so on, you're going to look at things critically, but it is also a picture in time for a certain thing. And like I remember seeing like, Plot to Blow Up the Eiffel Tower open for us. I was like, oh wow, these guys must look like Swing Kids. and the second thing I was like, wow, that's a great name for a long band name. That's a really great band name. But
they were better than Swing Kids because they like actually knew how to integrate a sax. Like we were just like, we wanted to be jazzy. We were just like, fuck, I don't know how to do that. Like, good luck.
Well, but you're also, you didn't necessarily have the musical lexicon at the time to approach it that way. But I mean, it's interesting, it's interesting what kind of sticks around, what people rediscover and what people don't, to a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like there's always like some people that discover that the Swing Kids stuff and it was like, oh yeah, this is really good, and the kind of experience it as if it's happening right then and there, and then it's like, oh yeah. That was like Baby Pictures, by the way, but but it's great that people engage with it, and it's cool music, so why not? But
yeah, people like we weren't playing at Fest in a week and a half or whatever. People are like, I can't believe it, and I'm like, yeah, we never played on the East Coast, and definitely never played Florida, and I'm pretty sure like there's gonna be like maybe 50 people that really care, and then there's gonna be like however many that couldn't give a flying fuck that we're playing, right. Which is fine. So it's cool to play for those 50 people, but for the most part, like, it's not like a big deal.
Well, and it's so funny because everyone's like done so much other stuff, like, like you have like Jimmy with Tristeza and Album Leaf and all that, and which is all like super cool stuff, but it's like obviously very very far afield from Swing Kids. Which isn't to say that people can only play like one genre of music, or musicianship can only manifest in one way. But it's just always kind of like, oh wow, all those guys have like done so much stuff. Like that'd be interesting to like to come back at them. So other than just being like, hey, I could have really worked a little harder on some of these lyrics. Like, I mean, was there any like big epiphany when you started doing it?
I mean, big epiphany, no, but like when we started rehearsing, I'm like, this is fucked up. This phrasing doesn't even fit with the riff. Like, why did I?
It is really odd. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, this sucks. But I have to look at it objectively, and it has to be its thing. I think for the most part, when we play it, it sounds better. We have 2 guitar players. We only had Jimmy joined the band very late, and he only played a few shows with us before Eric Allen passed away. So now we have Nathan Joyner in the band, and so now it's like how it should be, because those last few shows before Eric passed, when Jimmy joined, having 2 guitar players was just more brutal, and it felt more
right.
menacing, and I wanted that element because it was lacking of that, and so that was cool. And so I think there's that element, and the fact that like I know how to sing better now, and I think that we have technology on our side, so we and also like the knowledge of like kind of decent gear and stuff. So there's a lot of things that we're doing better, but it's unfortunate for me that I can't look back and go like, I should have wrote a better chorus and verse instead of like 3 lines and just repeat over and over.
Right. Yeah. Well, hindsight's 2020. What are you gonna? Speaking of Gabe, I was thinking the other day about Headwind City and that band, which is, I feel like was not around. It was around and then like not around and then around again and then not around again, which I guess is every band. But what did that start with Nick, or did that start with Cody? How did that all start up? I don't think we.
Nick and Cody, Jordan were all together, and they asked Gabe and I to do a band with them, and then we recorded that first EP, and we played one show, and then everyone just like cut out and never wanted to do it again. And so I think like 10 years passed or something, and then someone asked us to play this festival thing that Nick was part of. We played, and then everybody got juiced up, and we because we like we needed more songs. There's like only 15 minutes worth of music on that EP.
Yeah, that EP is like wild short, right? Yeah.
So we wrote one new song, and then the band also covered a song that Gabe and I did for a movie, and so there was like 2 extra songs, and then that kind of started like there's new music. Is there going to be a new record? And I think we just kind of like went and did a new record and kind of toured a little bit. And I think that there was turmoil in some of our lives at that time, and it just didn't work out logistically. I don't want to say too much because it's not my place. But and the band existed again for a very short moment, and I think that maybe that might be kind of beautiful in itself. And like, did some of us or all of us or whatever wish it went on and became a more substantial, legitimate, actual functioning band? Yes, but it is what it is, and I'm glad that it happened even in the small amount that it did.
Well, yeah, and it's something where it can always kind of like exist as a possibility rather than like, oh, that was around for too long.
That's one thing is like, I'd rather cut out early than like
leave them wanting more vaudeville style.
Then you end up writing like the last Refused record or something. You're just
dude,
like, fuck this. So
yeah, that was peace and love to those guys, and I would love to talk to anyone in that band, but I can go ahead and say I was not a fan. I mean, I was like, okay, good for them.
Yeah, I'm not speaking of. I mean, I'm indifferent, but the critics weighed in, and I think the band and everybody else was aware that it was like hard.
Well, didn't those guys say that they're going to do another band that's just called something different, just to like not have like
so they can sound like AC/DC instead of Right Coalition? I don't know.
I mean, okay.
Sorry, I'm not trying to be rude, but
no. Well, yeah.
It is. But everyone shits on me, so fuck it.
Refuse are doing just fine, right? Yes. Like that's another one that's good. There's going to be someone every year that's listening to which, to be fair, that song goes pretty hard. When I first heard that, I was like, wow, what's this?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this band Refused. I'm like, that's a cool band name.
Yeah.
But I also never thought I never thought they were a Refused reunion. Never. And then there was. I'm like, okay, cool. Well,
when you get paid, you do stuff.
I'm for it. Go ahead. Yeah. I mean, anyone wants to go see it and go see it. They don't have to.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Dead Cross too. I've had Crain on here, which I love it. I think Michael Crain's great. I'm a fan of that dude. Fan of that guy. Fan of his music. I think cunts are wonderful. Still can't believe they call themselves that. But, hey, punk rock. What are you going to do? Tell me how... So, Retox... The Retox to Dead Cross train, like, how does that... What's the timeline on that?
Retox was happening at the same time, and Ross Robinson was like, I need you to record on this project with... that I'm doing for this girl named Poppy Jean Crawford. He's like, I need to play bass on this project, and the drummer's Dave Lombardo. And I was like, oh yeah, I know Dave from Phantomos, like from the Locust with them and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to do that. Like, I don't know who Poppy is, but like I know Dave, and I'll do whatever the fuck it is to jam with that guy. And then he's
Yeah,
like,
like one of
give
the
me
great
your-"
drummers. Like, okay, yeah, that sounds neat.
Yeah, like, oh, twist my arm, Ross. You know, I wanna
Like,
go to the-
like, all right, you know what? I was about to say something complimentary that would also talk inadvertent trash, and I'm not going to say it. But Dave Lombardo was lovely. He was a lovely guest on this show. Appreciated having him. He's an incredible drummer, and I think he maybe somehow underrated for Slayer. You know what I mean? Like somehow, like is not quite counted enough beyond just being a badass drummer. Leaving it there.
Yeah.
Lombardo
Oh yeah,
rocks.
totally. Yeah.
I was going
But-
to talk some trash, but I didn't, Justin, because I'm maturing.
I just talked it. You should do it too. Come on, man. Let me drag you into the gutter with me, man.
Okay, so you want, and you're like, yeah, you play with Lombardo, great, yeah, sounds
Yeah.
good.
And then yeah, Ross was like, "You want to get your Retox dude to do it?" And I was like, "The guy has a fucking Slayer tattoo on his arm. Of course, you could just sign him up. I'm sure he'll do it." And
Yeah,
so
he'll find the yes, as they say.
yeah, so we went and did this session, and then that band Film that Dave was in broke up, and Dave was like, "I have this problem. We had these 3 shows booked with this." The Film was playing with this band Descantes on cart.
Oh, the from Mexico. Yeah,
I think
that
they're from Mexico City. Yeah,
yeah, they've got that real kind of Devo sort of presentation.
kind of bungley-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, Devo. Yeah. So he's like, I have these 3 shows. I have to like somehow like fill because otherwise their shows are going to be fucked or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Crain was like, dude, let's start a new band. You know, Power Violence, whatever, simple, whatever. And I was like, 12 days? Yeah, you guys want to try to do that? Sure. I'm like, fucking sounds terrible, but like, let's totally do that. And we did. And we've kind of fumbled through these 3 shows for them. And it made something ridiculous. And so, yeah. And Gabe Serbian was the original singer of the band. And
That's right.
So we did like a handful of shows with him, recorded half the record, and then Gabe quit. Then walks in Patton, and the band takes on a whole other life, and then fucking here we are.
Yeah, because it's one thing to be like, all right, you're playing with arguably one of like the most well-known and badass drummers and like heavy music or whatever, and the other thing is like, oh, and now here's one of the most iconic frontmen of his generation. No big deal.
Yeah. I will say this, like Patton's reference points are very on spot on, and I think that the fact that he was essentially replacing Gabe in a band as a vocalist, he was like completely behind that. The crazy thing is, one, Gabe didn't give himself enough credit as a singer.
Gabe was awesome as a singer,
dude, total ripper. And the shit that the first portion of the Dead Cross record that we recorded with Gabe's vocals were incredible, but he stopped and he wasn't able to do it. But I think that Patton took that because Patton was at one point going to sing in The Accused, that before they got like back together or whatever. Like, oh wow, like so he was like dialed in with like the brutal shit, and I think maybe like Dead Cross is kind of like The Accused, I guess, at least with Gabe. And I think that was his like reference point, like, oh yeah, totally want to do that. And of course, Patton did his thing and made it something totally different. But yeah, it was weird for sure to do that stuff.
Well, but it's also, I mean, and I say this as a compliment, like Patton's a freak, right? He's into like what he brings is, people often try to do it, and it's like, okay, you're trying to do a Mike Patton thing, but the thing is, you don't have that lived experience, you don't have that like weird set of bizarre influences that like make that. So what it does is, it sounds like a simulation or something,
or 16 octaves or whatever it is,
and for sure don't have like the vocal ability of that, which is just like insane. And
what's also too is like really funny to play shows and to go like, oh yeah, this portion of the people are here because of Faith No More, and like he's over here on stage doing this fucking witch voice, which is like,
super brutal,
whatever, like, and they're bummed, and I'm like, this is killer. And also Patton was like, yeah, I want to fucking bum those people out, and like I thought it was great. I was like, that's the shit.
We just want to hear epic, okay. No, and that's something where that's a very interesting band. There's like kind of like all the players bring their own thing to it, but it's also like it comes from like the punk rock world, from like lack of a better term, right? Even though it's kind of like a thrash identified band. It feels like it's coming from the punk rock world to me.
Well, I think, as much as Lombardo doesn't seem like punk rock, his morals and ethics are completely rooted in that. So, and same with Patton, I think that like what Patton and Lombardo choose to do musically isn't always punk rock, but it is always punk. And I think that's an important thing, because I feel like they definitely are doing it for the right reasons, and they challenge not only themselves, but like people that have expectations on what they should and shouldn't do. And I think that's fucking great. And that's like goes back to the core of like what our whole existence is in this world.
Absolutely. I mean, and like everyone's a very real. I mean, I remember seeing Melt Banana at the Tip Top in the '90s in San Francisco, and there was like 9 other people, and Patton was one of them. Me and Patton and like 8 other people, and I was like, "We're all seeing Melt Banana, and this rules," Yep.
and having Melt Banana as a reference point in anything in life, you're like, oh, you're on the right path.
You're on the right path, right? If it's like you're passionate about the freakier aspects of music, which is beautiful and a wonderful thing. Tell me how. I got it from Brian, so you can give me like a more abridged story. Tell me how Def Club came together.
Well, initially it was Nick Zinner and I worked on this film score thing that never came out, and it was the music never came out. The movie never came out. So at one point I was like, well, we should release the music, and it was only like a minute and a half. It was like 3 songs, and I was like, let's just put this out. And we put it out, and people were like, what the fuck, this is wild. And so at some point Nick and I were like, let's make that a band. It's called More Pain. Let's make that a band. Right. And so we were kind of putting it together, and I was like, Nick, like, I don't understand. It's like really only a minute and a half worth of music. Like, are you ready to do this? Like, thing?
Yeah.
And he was kind of like, yeah, maybe not. And so it was Brian and Scott Osmond, our drummer, were already jamming. And so they kind of already like made this connection and like started it. Like, and so like Brian was basically like, well, we should just do this. And I was like, all right, fucking another band, and
Did you ever, sorry to derail the story, but did you ever hear his band Challenge of the Future?
Who, Brian's?
Nick's band, pre-Yeah.
No, but I'm gonna have to look into that.
Oh, they're good. They were originally called like the Boba Fett Experience, or like something along those. And like they were like worried that Lucas was gonna sue, because this is like right when the prequels were sort of like coming out. Good band. I'm pretty sure I have their tape somewhere around here. But that I knew I knew of him before Yeah because of that band. Which are good.
So that gives you like all of the street cred.
I mean, I guess I'm just. I thought it was in. I mean, I was like, oh, guitar. This is like real interesting. Like, and then like I didn't really think too much about it. And then I was like, oh, isn't this like? Well, no, I know what it was. I saw John Spencer Blues Explosion with the Liars and Yeahs.
Yeah, me too. That was killer. That was when I first met Nick.
Yeah, and I was like, holy shit! All these bands are amazing. I've seen Blues Explosion.
Also seeing like Yeahs, I was like, oof. Not the competitive thing, but you're like, dude, you guys shit the bed, man. Like playing with Yeahs, like they were ripping so hard.
Yeah, they were like, it was a who is this band? What is happening here? Because this and Brian Seconds was Brian's. Band. I love Seconds. They're great. We played with them in New York, and I was like, oh, the guy from Seconds and the and the guy from the Boba Fett Experience. It may not be the Boba Fett Experience, but it's like that. But I actually thought it was a step up. I thought Challenge of the Future, and maybe it's because I'm thinking of like Challenge for Civilized Society, like Unwound. Like I was like, oh, Challenge of the Future. That's tough sounding. I like that. Anyway, whatever. So not enough songs to like you have like 3 minutes of music.
1.5. Yeah, and so those guys started jamming, and then I was like, oh yeah, we're just gonna be a band. But it was kind of interesting because Retox had just kind of actually broke up. So I was, vocally sort of like only doing Planet B and not in a hardcore band. So I was like, yeah, that sounds cool. And it was kind of interesting because we wrote an EP and we released it as like our announcement that we're a band. And I thought that was like pretty rad and very effective, because right out the gates we're like, band, video, 7-inch, blah. And then people were like, what the fuck is this? And it was like, pretty brutal. And then so it was cool. And then we didn't really go anywhere after that.
Well, it's because it's kind of like coming forth fully formed from the head of Zeus or something, right? Where you're just like, oh, it's all right here, rather than like I guess we're gonna do a tour, and then we'll record, and then and it's like, oh no, is this kind of right? Well, because I at the time, well, because I feel like Retox played SF a decent amount, and you always played that place. Why can't I think of the name of it? It was out there. I was like, Retox is back. I was like, fuck, I don't want to take a bus.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
I can't remember what the place was. I saw you there one of the time, and I was like, why are they playing that place? But anyway, but it did seem like it happened. Like, oh, there's a new band. What is this new band? That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then it seems like there was and so Brian, which I got his side of the story, of course, as well. But like what a freaking unique player, man. I freaking love what that guy does guitar wise. I think it's like really interesting. Like the using like noise as like a hook kind of thing, especially on that I can't remember if it was the first single or not, but that one kind of first time I heard that I was like, fuck yeah. That's
there was right at the bat. I was like, because before we even started jamming, I kept seeing him at like the most oddest places. I mean, Retox played with his other band ACXDC, and
right.
So I was like, oh, you're into like grind or thrash, and then I would like see him at like Mets shows or something, and I'd be like, oh shit, and then I was like, oh, this guy's like on one, like he's like into like all of the weird shit, and so I was like, oh, that is like kind of the goal. Like you're into fucking hardcore, but you're into like weird shit. And then there we go, cause it's kind of like the thing I always reference this and I think it's fine to do this, but, Gabe Serbian had this quote where he says, I don't listen to hardcore, I just play it. And I was like, that's the shit. Because I think then like all of that guy's output was like, my shit. I was like, oh, this is perfect. Like everything you're doing. Like even when he was like doing like Rat's Eyes and stuff, like, that was just like, that's the fucking shit right there. Like, that's what I want to listen to, So I kind of see it like that. Like, cause I don't think Brian listens to hardcore. I think he listens to like everything else. And then we just play in this like jacked up version of a hardcore band.
Yeah. And that's, I think that you get some really unique ways of deploying guitar, like creatively that way, and in ways that, I mean, I'm not trying to denigrate hardcore guitarists, but it's like there's kind of like all right, you're doing the thing, okay, then you're gonna do this other thing, then there's almost like
but doing that is successful. Doing what we do is unsuccessful. You're like, fuck that.
Okay.
You were like, fuck this band, And
you're like, talking about successful bands now, right? Exactly.
Yeah. You're a hardcore guitarist doing hardcore guitar. You're great. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be just fine.
Just think about your mortgage payments.
And people know when to mosh and stage dive. Here we got Brian going like, pew, 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 pew. People are like, what the fuck is going on? Is that an alarm?
Yeah, we do. God, this is so freaking dumb. We bonded on like they have these like. These banana nana pedals. That's the name of the manufacturer, right? And they suck so. They're great, but they suck so bad because they're tiny. First of all, and they do like all these rad things, but the knobs are just like forget it. Like if you look at it funny, you're gonna like do like this is like the least pragmatic pedal ever. Yeah, but we both have one. And so like we bonded like, oh man, you got one of those? And it's like, oh yeah, dude, you ever like, yeah, can you ever find your settings again? Oh no, not at all. Like it was like but it always does something cool. So it's like, fuck, it's so cool though. I was like, I know. Yeah. But that's just the kind of player that he is. A real interesting fella. I didn't realize how into Nirvana he was and how maybe not.
That's his downfall. But yes.
How that maybe not all of you are. Let's put it that way, right?
He is like obsessed. And I'm like, dude, Kurt Cobain, if he knew you had a fucking Kurt Cobain air freshener hanging from your car window, car mirror, you'd be bummed. And he's like, so? And I'm like, I don't know. Like you live, breathe, sleep, shit, Kurt Cobain, and you got his fucking air freshener on your rearview mirror. Like that's kind of a bummer. And then he goes pew 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 whatever. Like, dude,
It's like
you're in a fucking weird realm right now.
The space laser gun guitar, right? Yeah.
With the Kurt Cobain air freshener.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it's not everyone's path. I mean, my path was I was into music before like my parents were like, as parents, not amazing. Like they like to do a lot of drugs and stuff, but they also listen to a lot of records. So I got to hear like, Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, Neil Young, like all that kind of stuff, like at a very early age. And I enjoyed all of it, but it wasn't until I heard Nirvana that I was like, oh, like, what's this? This is different. So that led to like Sonic Youth and Butthole Surfers and Fugazi and Big Black and Jesus Lizard and so on, all down the line. They were my gateway drug, if you will.
I mean, for me, like I already knew about them obviously from Nevermind, but when In Utero came out, I was working at this stupid record store and I was like, this shit is brutal. Like, this sounds like my friends' kind of bands. Like this sounds like harsh, super weird, like Steel Pull Bathtub or something, which obviously was like around, like, and so I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy, like feedback and like fucked up sounds and shit. I'm like, okay, maybe I need to give that band more credit, and I do now, but with Brian, I think he took it a step too far, but I do see the relevance in like what they did as a band.
That record really rules. Did you ever listen to, for the like an anniversary or something, they released a special edition and there's like the Steve Albini mixes of like some of those songs. Like it's worth listening to. And in that same way that beyond just like I've also listened to like the Funhouse sessions where it's like, all right, here's all the tapes. You can tell Iggy's like figuring it out like as he goes. I mean, that's cool to listen to like one time. Like, oh, that's cool. I do the same thing. Right on. But this is definitely like, oh wow, like that mix hits like way harder. Like, why did they think they were doing a better job by like rounding off the edges on this? Because if you like me, especially. I mean, this isn't the Nirvana podcast. I don't want to go too far down the line, but there's like two songs where it's like, oh wow, that's just like a more interesting mix. But I think it sounds at the time, considered where the words like, yeah, they were the biggest band in the world, and people thought that they like, all right, go make Nevermind Part 2, and they didn't do that. They made something entirely different and like way cooler, in my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
But it wasn't going to sell hundreds of millions of records, and they were just like, oh, what if we just get a single out of them, then I can at least make a payment on my. My Rolls Royce. Okay.
Yeah. I wonder like who had their finger on that scale and like, you have to do this, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I've never had the luxury of being in a gigantic band and having someone like pressure me to write some shit that I didn't want to do.
Yeah. And I think credit to those guys that they made the record they wanted to make, but I think that they could have, like if you listen to the Steve mixes, especially in context of like knowing the record, it's like, oh, that's better. That's like just a better mix. Like that fits what you're doing more. But it's easy to look at that in 2025 instead of like 93 or 94 or whenever that came out. I don't know. But I think In Utero is an incredible. I think that's like one of the better records of that decade. Just because of like, not just the stature, but just like they could have done anything. And they chose to make this. It's like Twin Peaks: The Return or something where it's like, fuck yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
But I mean, you'll never make a fortune catering to my sensibilities, though. That's all I got to say about it. But anyway, in summary, Nirvana. Tell me about the new record, dude. Like, this is been great, by the way, but like I would feel remiss if we didn't at least talk a little bit about We Demand a Permanent State of Happiness. It's one of my favorites of the year.
What record?
In Utero. Have you heard of it? It's great.
I think it's a okay record. It's really weird. Like I thought it was great, and then I was like, I fucking hate it. And then I kind of came back to it, and I was like, oh man, some of the vocals aren't like brutal enough or sharp enough. And I think that's a lot. I think my problem is with some of the vocals, even some of the backing vocals too. I was like, God damn it, it's like not nasty enough. But I think there's like 4 really good songs on it, and then I'll just leave it at that. So the rest are not that great, but yeah. I mean,
dude, harsh.
I think if I was like, my record's killer, and I'm like over here sucking my dick, it'd be really hard to talk with my dick in my mouth. So
right. Okay, fair. Well, fair.
I think that like I'm being objective. I think there's 4 good songs on the record, and I might say there's like a couple more that are like okay, but like there's a lot of like just like that sucks. And I'm gonna speak almost solely from just saying like vocals.
Right. You're not talking about the rest. Right. You're not talking about the any of the rest of it. I see what you're saying. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but also too, I think a thing we're still learning is like we have all these people that are capable of playing very technical stuff, and I think a lot of times, including myself, we're not willing or knowingly able to kind of take a step back and be like, oh, we're all just fucking going berserk, and that's a lot. Like, let someone else take the spotlight for a second. And I think that might be a lesson that we still need to learn as a band, a little bit.
And I think it's it's interesting you say that, because I think that's kind of what sets it apart from the other recordings, which I like. I like them a lot, but there is definitely like it doesn't feel like everyone at full out sprint the entire time necessarily. Yeah. And that kind of allows, it's going to seem like a weird comparison, but like Wire, like how Wire, how some of their stuff like kind of sit together where there's like, oh no, there's space there. And then like there's kind of like expansion, contraction kind of thing. I always appreciated them. And so I always think of them when I think of that kind of thing, but just applied to like what you guys do, which is this more frenetic, generally frenetic thing, not exclusively frenetic.
But there's like a part where you're just like, why is there a blast beat right there? Like, what is that part doing for anybody? We went from like, there's like a 2.5 minute song, and there's like, why do we have to throw that one gnarly? I'm not saying blast beat is only like on Scott with drums, but like, like the guitar, it's like, it's like that part's doing like kind of nothing, like and it loses its like punctuality. Like, it's not like fucking that's so brutal. You're just like, fuck that part, and then let's get back to the shit that's actually like hitting hard. So like that happens a little bit with this band, and I'm just like, oh man, like we could probably just shave that, like just cut that out, and it might have been a little
stronger,
cooler. Yeah, maybe.
Well, I mean, I think that it's been interesting watching the evolution of the band, because I think it started off. It almost started off a little more bratty, in a way, and I say that as a compliment. It's, but I feel like it's, and maybe you disagree, but it feels more assured. This feels like a very assured record. Like, it definitely, it feels like you guys kind of just settled into like a real nice thing. That this, like, not to say it's like, oh, they're so comfortable, they shouldn't be comfortable. It just sounds like you're doing exactly what you should be doing and pushing it, but also kind of just writing kind of songs that you want to play. And that's, I think, what any band should aspire to, really, personally.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I don't agree with you, but thank you very much.
Oh, well, you don't have to. That's fine. It can still be cool. But I think it's cool. I mean, like, I think it's fascinating that as much as, there's this long, you reach a certain age and you just have like the members of like Doctor Who scarf that's just like tailing behind you, and it's like, oh yeah, there's that. Okay, hold on, let me pull this in. We got all these ones over here, and that can be a double-edged sword, right? Because it's harder to do something and have people engage with it just on the surface of what it is you're presenting, rather than it just being a summary of the resume, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's a whole kind of new audience of people that are engaging with Def Club because they like Def Club. Yeah. Great.
I was on this like weird Bandcamp live chat thing.
Oh, how was that? I saw that, and I was running around doing.
It was cool, but yeah, I had to like sign in and like live chat while the record was being played. But one guy was like, I read it wrong, but he basically, what I read was like, oh, this is cool, but the Locust is better. And I was like, man, fuck this guy. But he actually said the opposite. He was like, I like this a lot. It's better than the Locust, or something along those lines. And I was like, oh shit. And then later on, he's like, dude, I didn't even realize you were in the Locust. And I was like, oh yeah. Huh.
He was just, that's funny. So he just like made the comparison. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he was just kind of like, I don't know how the comparison came up, but he basically was saying like, it's better than the Locust. But I thought he was like saying that the Locust is better. And I'm like, man, I fucking hear that shit all the time. Yeah. It's so annoying.
Well, and that's also because, unfortunately, the problem with making an impact on people is that will resonate with them in a way that they may not be able to open up their mind or heart or ears, frankly, to hear even anything new. And that happens on smaller scales as well, you know, where it's just like, someone's like, oh no, I only like that. It's like, well, have you listened to any of the rest of it? Like, I mean, law of averages says some of it may may appeal to you. I mean, maybe one or two. Like, oh no,
Yeah.
that's the one I like. I'm like, okay, well, fine. Guess enjoy listening to that one. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm no.
I mean, it's like, everyone's a critic. It's like now people like the Locust, but even when the whole duration of the Locust, it was like people were like, the first record was the best. You're just like, are you fucking kidding me? The one like not coherent at all.
Yeah, the one
Like,
the jumbled mess. You mean? Yeah. Okay. Great. Yeah, but
everyone's like, that's the best record. And you're like, oh, thanks for your definitive fucking
Yeah.
weighing in bullshit answer or whatever. Yeah, like it wasn't even a question. Yeah, but you're just like, okay, great. I'm glad we got that out of the way. So I'm just used to like, being subpar. Like, it's fine. Like it's not the fucking thing. Or like whatever. Like, yeah, it's not the shape to punk to come, and I think that's fucking fine.
which is okay.
I'm glad. I don't
Right.
want to do that. Like,
Yeah, it's sort of like I just think about poor Kevin Shields is like, yeah, he made Loveless. It's so amazing. It's like, well, yeah, it is amazing, but then like he basically made himself insane trying to come up with a record after that because like everyone like was sitting around sucking his dick about it. Peace and love, but I do love that record.
I guess like, how do you I guess I'm grateful that like I'm not in a band where everyone's like the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I hear that about the Locust, whatever, but that they're wrong and that's fine. But like like not to talk shit about Refused because I do like them as people.
Yeah.
But like people, I think people only want the thing and they're gonna be like, if you can't do the thing, like they're gonna not get. So now they're fucking forced to break up and start a new band, and like
Right.
that's actually like kind of cool. That's what I fucking have to keep doing, like
Right. to be able to change things up. Yeah, because it's like, okay, like look, there's some bands can pull it up. Fugazi's a great example, right? A band that's just stayed creatively viable, kind of stayed to their own compass, like their own internal compass, and and most people kind of came along, but some people were just like, oh no, it's all about waiting room, bro. It's all about okay. Should go back to the frat party, but fine.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's just kind of the way it is. Locust is interesting because I think Locust attracted a lot of professional opinion havers. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, this is my opinion. This is my identity is based on the fact that I am the guy with the opinion, and here is what it is. And in a way, I feel like that is an outmoded concept. In a way, I think it's just everywhere now. At the same time, not just with music, but for whatever reason, I felt like it was hard to get a decent read on the music of the Locust rather than just like, oh, the antics or like, oh, I saw, and again, just like the freaking urban legends of the half, which is like, I was at that show and literally none of that stuff happened.
Yeah.
None of
well,
that.
the antics were like actually a reaction to the non-musical thing that people were focusing on. I'm like, you're going to keep talking about the way we look, then fine, we're going to get uniforms and look fucking totally insane.
Which I thought was great. I was like, oh, they look like, crazy insects now, like Devo.
Yeah,
insects.
why not?
Awesome.
Like, why not do that? Like I really was a fan of that. But it was just like, it had to be like dicks pushing us to that,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay. But luckily for, the Locust, sure, there's the self-titled record, but I think that like, which is fine. But really for me, there's only 3 records: Plague Soundscapes, Safety Second, and then New Erections. And I think if you take those 3, people typically say, oh, Plague Soundscapes. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like there was a reason for the whatever you want to call it, evolution or something, because we did Safety Second Body Last as a 10-minute long piece to make sure people couldn't speak to us from the audience anymore.
Right.
That was like, that was a derivative of like people fucking talking shit to us. And we're like, well, fuck you then. We're going to make these things. And that transitioned into New Erections. And I think that there was a lineage. And if you don't like the later stuff, well, I mean, no one in the band gives a fuck what anyone thinks,
right?
Except ourselves.
Right. Yeah.
And that, I think that might be like where we go back to like Nirvana or Refused or something, where you're like, there's this other entity telling you like you have to like do this successful thing again.
Yeah.
And I think that the goal is to be like, I don't care about success, at all.
Well, and there's a lot of stories of people that do, and then they sort of break themselves on the rocks, for it. And it's like, well, you could have just like made cool stuff and not worried about that. And probably like maybe you still would have broke on rocks, maybe you wouldn't have. But it just seems, I don't know, seems exhausting to me, frankly. But whatever, that's neither here nor there. Tell me about the thing with Martin Atkins. We're about to close it out, but I'd be disingenuous not to mention it.
That's crazy.
Former
shit.
guest of the show, by the way, and that's a great episode, even though it was like fucking 1,000 years ago. But I would love that guy.
So do I. First of all, if you get a chance to go to Post-Punk Industrial Music Museum, you should. It's insane because he's such a personality and he's such a good host, But yeah, he messaged me out of the blue and was like, "Do you like Killing Joke?" And I'm like, "What the fuck kind of question is that?"
You should have been, who?
Yeah, and
never heard of her.
I sent him. I was like, "Dude, this is weird, man."
Yeah.
And so I sent him the link of the Def Club song, "The Wait," where we covered it. I was like, you
tell me.
We talked about that because I was trying to get like him to connect me with anybody in the band to give us like a, I don't know, like just like, hey, please send this version of our song to someone in the band.
Yeah, so that they can check it out or like whatever. Yeah.
So I was like, I'm like into the band. What the fuck you asked me this for? And he's like, oh, I got this idea. And so then he called me and I was like, oh yeah, sign me up. I completely don't know what you're doing. And I actually kind of still partially don't know what he's doing. But I was like, I'm totally down. I mean, pretty much like Martin Atkins, if he was to be like, all right, we're going to start this baking show. And we're going to, I'd be like, fucking totally down to do that.
Pearson, you're on butter duty. Great. All right. Give me some butter.
So I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm not really sure what. And so I went to so it's like, it's Extremities, the album that he played on. And he wants to cover it and play it, with a bunch of his friends. And I was like, yeah, I fully want to do that. But he's so like into like, he's so against structure or like, he's a big fan of chaos. So he's kind of like, just come out and do the thing. And I'm like, what am I doing, dude? Like, am I singing or am I playing bass? Because like, I'm not doing both.
Yeah.
And like, you're the dude, you should be picking my lane, And so like he didn't. And so I showed up and I was like, yeah, I can't sing that, like how like the vocals are. I think I can nail the bass because to me, Killing Joke is basically like, to me, Dead Cross is like very much like just Killing Joke. And I was like, trying to rip off Killing Joke, at least structurally. There's like,
I can hear that. Yeah.
There's like the bass line's a groove and there's Mike Crane's like fucking surfy, like weird, delayed guitar. Like this is, so I was like, oh yeah, like Killing Joke is killer. I love everything about it, but I can't sing like that. I sing too high pitched but I can play bass just like that. And I was like, let me fucking play bass. And so he's like, all right. And so I became the bass player. And then there's all these other people involved and it's kind of weird and nerve wracking because I'm always into like the logistical stuff. Like, how the fuck are we doing this live? Because this is like, it's live shit. Like,
who's doing what, when, like, what is,
what's the set list? What's the encore? Like, what the fuck is going to happen? And so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to have to like learn this shit and that's like really stressful because like, I can go play a Def Club set and like not know my own lyrics and like fuck up and it's not that big of a deal, but like I can't go play this other band's shit wrong with Martin Atkins. I got to make sure it's like together.
Well, because people aren't going to be pissed at Martin Atkins, they're going to be pissed at you.
Yeah, they'll be like, hey, that fucking dipshit from the band we never heard of that's playing bass fucking screwed up,
look at that idiot.
Martin's like, yeah. And I'm like, no, like, come on.
Yeah, so, and that's. And I will say that approach makes sense for the guy behind Pigface. That's all I got to say. That seems to be how he rolls.
Like the Pigface, like structure or whatever, if you want to call that. Like it's kind of like what it's like ingrained in him. So I'm like, yo, you don't want to do Pigface again. You've said it. You're doing that. Like, you're just gonna fucking throw in a rapper and throw in cello and throw in like, like who's singing what and like I don't know what the fuck's going on and so it's kind of crazy.
Damn.
I trust him though.
I mean, he's got a track record of like just doing badass stuff. So
it's flawless. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to just know as much and do as best as I can and fucking hope that I don't shit the bed because like I don't want to disappoint him, his fans, or Killing Joke fans. That's like a big deal. I care if I disappoint Def Club fans? Like, no. You know?
Right. I mean, I think it's one of those things too where there's a way to do it that's cool and kind of honors the spirit of the music. I was thinking about when we came to the MC50. So my friend Brendan from Fugazi was on drums, and my friend Bill from Faith No More was on bass.
Yeah.
Kim from Soundgarden, like, and it was like all these guys that, like, you know, not all necessarily from what you would think of in the same sound, but they all were playing like kick-ass MC5 songs with Marcus from Zangorella on vocals, which is an old SF band where it's like, oh fuck yeah, that guy's, because I remember most about those Zangorella shows when I first moved to the Bay Area is he was like in the air most of the time, like he would like jump and be like, wow, this guy catches air, because he was tall dude and he had like big hair too, and it was like, wow, you're at the bottom of the hill, bro. There's not that much room to move. But did an amazing job, and so they serviced the songs in such a way that, you know, I never got to see the MC5, right? But like I got to see this guy that was as old as my dad, like rocking on guitar with like better stage energy than like dudes like 1/3 of his age, with all these musicians who were just badasses in their field and firmly committed to like the vision of like, no, tonight we're gonna be the as close to the MC5 as you can fucking get to.
Yeah, and that's important.
And it kicked ass.
Yeah.
And it ruled, and everybody had a great time. And I was like, I don't understand how you could ever be mad at this. You know what I mean? But I was thinking about it. I was talking to Brendan afterwards, like, so, how'd it feel? I was like, well, it feels pretty good now. It kind of felt weird at first, but, you know.
Yeah.
And I listened to these records all the time, so I was like, not like the music was unfamiliar, but we got there. I'm like, yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Sounds fucking amazing.
Our first rehearsal was pretty rough. But I'll say this about Martin's drumming is like, him and I did this improv thing maybe like 10 years ago. Yeah. And I was like, this is fucking crazy. The guy's like in Doc Marten boots and he's got a suit on and like, I don't know, he's, 15 years older than me. And I'm like, this is crazy shit.
Yeah, what am I doing?
And even now, like when I play with him at rehearsal, I'm like, God damn, he's so good. And his kick is so impactful. Yeah. And it's funny because I listen to the bass line and I know that there's fewer strums, but I want to play with this kick
to like match up with it, right? Yeah.
Dude, I'm like, I'm gonna fucking play harder.
Yeah.
And like, it's just, but I think because I played with like such stellar musicians, drummers, I'm just constantly like the kick. I'm gonna follow that. It's like not da 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 da. It's gonna be like I want to fucking do that. And I think there's like this in my brain, it's just wired. There's like a need to go like, there's that shit. Like, let's make this more driving. So I think that there's not that we can be better than the original Killing. I mean, he was the fucking drummer. So like, and I can't be better than, someone else that like originally did it. But I think I can make it, I can do my best.
Well, and they're going to give a live experience that's like special to people, and there's something to be said for that where it's like, oh yeah, that's you're not gonna see that. I mean, I just think about like all the stuff he did on Flowers of Romance, right? Of just like, fuck, dude. Like, what is, like, most bands is like would just be lucky to have like one iconic player, but to have like what was going on in that record, I'm like, what is this? How was this record? How was this record? Yeah. And a lot of that's him, man. Like he brought. Yeah. He brought that sensibility. He's a fascinating dude. I wish I could see it. I will be gone.
Yeah.
I wish I could see this freaking show, but if another one happens, I'll be there.
If it's successful and to whatever that degree is, it might happen again. I mean, he's entertained the idea, so we'll see.
Okay, great. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Future's unwritten. Justin's been great, man. I really appreciate you making the time to do this. I can't believe had been as long as it has since I had you on last, but always a pleasure. Welcome anytime. We'll talk about podcasts for 45 more minutes and unrelated rock and roll stories.
Yeah, hopefully people can get over the first half an hour.
You know what? People tell me they like it. I'm like, that's good. Like it's the same thing where I just interject random ass stories that I do. It's like, look, this isn't fucking fresh air, okay? I don't know what to tell you.
Don't shit on Terry Gross. I think.
I'm not. Cool. Terry Gross is amazing at what she does. But if Terry Gross started talking about White Power Happy Hour, it'd be a weird show, right?
I don't know. She had Jason Hammaker on once. That was like pretty wild.
Okay, fair point.
Yeah.
All right. No.
I appreciate you. I think you're awesome, and I'm glad that we are in the same orbit. There's a lot of humans and there's a lot of bad ones. So I'm glad that we've joined forces to some extent and are part of the same community. So yeah, thank you.
Hell yeah. And yeah, I'll link to all the sundry things in the show like I always do. Anything we somehow didn't go over like coming up you want to talk about?
Nah.
All right, so last thing, canned question, only canned question I ever ask. Choose to interpret it however you like. Why do you do what you do?
Because I absolutely have to.
Hell yeah. Justin Pearson, thanks so much, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Take care, brother.
All right, dude. Take care.
Oh, there he goes. Mr. Justin Pearson. Love that guy. I am going to play something off of the new Def Club to play us out. The name of this record, We Demand a Permanent State of Happiness. Highly recommended. I'm a big fan of this. I think it's one of the better records of the year, and I think you should definitely check it out. And if they're playing, there are some Def Club tour dates coming up, so I guess go see them on tour. Let's see. Why don't we do let's just Nihilism for Dummies. That's a good one. There you go. A little Def Club for you there. That's off of We Demand a Permanent State of Happiness on 31G. defclub31g.bandcamp.com is the place to go for that. One of my favorite records of the year. I don't know. I'm just saying. That was Justin Pearson. Love that dude, obviously. Hope you guys enjoy that. Sorry for any navel-gazing stuff on my point. Right when it turns into tour time, I kind of interject myself a little too much, I think. I don't know. Maybe I don't. Hey, but this has been Conan and Retox Protonic Reversal. Thank you so very much for listening to it. You can find the show Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific, streaming live, YouTube and Twitch, podcast later, everywhere. No ads, no sponsors, no kidding, at ProtonicReversal.com. Always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding. For sure. So nice I said it twice. If you like the show and want to get episodes sooner, patreon.com/ProtonicReversal achieves that goal, $1 a month, and it helps keep the lights on this joint. Appreciated. Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends on tour in like a few hours. Come see us in those cities that I mentioned earlier on. NeutronFriends.bandcamp.com. Deep appreciation, as always, for all of you. And there's some cool stuff coming up. There's going to be some more between the October and November length shows, so it's not going to be a total Protonic hiatus. But I don't know who's going to be 444. It's interesting. Numerologist left it. Let me know who that should be. I always appreciate everyone, liking, sharing the shows around, all that stuff. That helps people discover it. So I appreciate that. Hit me up on tour and I'll give you a sticker. Maybe I will. If I have any left. We'll see. I think I got some left. Either way, stay safe out there.
Can you hear me now?
And I'll check you later.
Out on Route 128, dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? 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 See the radio. And that snare drum and that drum roll means we've got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. There is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on. Can you hear